Well, good evening, everybody. Michael, soothing here. I just, the last day or so, finished my 90 pages of documentation to send off for tax time. So I'll let my CPA go through that and make sure I didn't make any mistakes. You know, even if you can do, I had a very complicated one this year because I sold a house that I had done repair work on for decades. So I had about 110 receipts, and you have to put all of that into a spreadsheet as part of your cost basis if you've ever sold a home to show what your gain is minus your total cost. And anyway, never mind boring tax talk. Actually, if I wanted to put you all to sleep, I could start talking about IRS regulations. But that's not what we're going to do tonight. We're going to be a little bit more interesting than that. We're going to talk about the giant rainstorms of February because I went down to California. It's been raining here for 3 months, but in Oregon, and we've had flooding and things. Tonight the sirens were going off for hours with accidents on the highways, and I was personally glad I wasn't out there driving in it. But in Santa Cruz County, they've had some massive storms also. You know, where I grew up and lived for decades and just retired from living there. And all my commute routes are destroyed. Highway 17 is gridlocked because of mudslides and things. Highway 9, the bypass through the mountains, is closed. Highway 35, Skyline Boulevard, another bypass through the mountains. I gotta show you a picture of what it looks like, and you'll see why it's closed. It's so bad, the entire highway disappeared down a steep mountainside. Let me see if you can get the scope of this. Skyline, I used to drive this as my alternate route all the time when Highway 17 was jammed up. And it says here, Skyline Drive disappears, washout. Another alternative route across the Santa Cruz Mountains was severed in a mudslide last week. Here is the photo. I've also seen one from the air. Here's where the highway was, and then you can see the entire mountainside is gone. The highway along with it. That's what happens in bad storms. This would be like 100-year storm, except we had one in 1982, so that was another 100-year storm. Do you notice we get 100-year storms about every 20 years? Maybe they should rethink their timing on that. Anyway, I'm indulging in a little Schadenfreude because what I do is I get on my old 511.org site. It shows all my old commute routes and what the traffic looks like. I look at the gridlock there at night in the evening when it's time to drive home, and it's a 3-hour commute for those poor people on there, and I say to myself, thank you, Lord, that I got to retire a few months ago and I'm not in Actually, I retired about a year ago. But so far, there's been no actual relaxation retirement until now, because I've had a series of life events that I'll tell you about sometime that have been very traumatic and difficult, that have gone on for about 2 straight years now. But anyway, now I'm here in my Oregon home, which is pulling itself apart because of a problem with land subsidence here. So I'm going to have to find alternative residence at some point, and I have a lawsuit going on, but to resolve it. But never mind all of that. The fact is, I'm very fortunate to have my health and a beautiful place to live, and my time free now going forward pretty much for a while, although I have a million projects to work on. But anyway, never mind that. Right now I'm boring you. Am I putting you to sleep? That's the whole point. Okay, so here's my Shoiden for. There's the gridlock, see? That's the exact highway. This is where it goes up into the Santa Cruz Mountains here. And that's where I would be sitting, probably right at this very moment, if, I was still doing that commute. I'm pretty sure those people have been there for about 3 days without moving. That's the way it's been lately. And that building over there used to be where Santa's Village was, and then it became a high-tech firm. They built some big buildings there called Borland, and then Borland went out of business. And I don't know what they're doing with those buildings now, but anyway, more cars stuck in traffic there, see? And it says, Echoes of Loma Prieta delays. Echoes of Loma Prieta means back in 1989, we had the big Loma Prieta earthquake, 7.0, about 6 linear miles from where I was living in Scotts Valley, 6 or 7 miles as the crow flies, but further than that on the road. And it opened giant fissures and cracks in our main highway that we commute to the Silicon Valley. It looked like this. If I can get that in the picture, there it is. That's what the highway looked like after the earthquake, because the fault line just ruptured everything. Now, I remember it very well because for months it affected my commute. I couldn't go to work on the highway anymore. I had to take Highway 9, which is just one lane each way. And so luckily I had a boss who let me come in and work very odd hours so that I wouldn't sit in traffic for 4 hours each way. So he would let me come in at like 11 a.m. and, go home early and work from home, or stay late, come in at noon and stay till 8 p.m. or things like that. Luckily, my old boss, Bob Newton, I have a little picture of him from those days. He's long gone now because he was a Korean War vet, much older than me. And I have a little photo I kept at work all over the years after that with a little caption that said, Ghost of Newton, It was a little joke we had because we loved old Bob, even though he was a very he could be very mean to some of us, but he was always nice to me. I don't know why. Maybe because I was nice to him and he wasn't used to it. Anyway, rain is snarling the road repairs, it says. Felton Grove got flooded out. Love Creek flooding destroys $5,000 worth of food at Valley churches. Even the food bank got flooded out, see? And that's not showing the food bank, but that's the headline I'm reading to you. Let's see what it says. A winter storm and resulting mudslide and flooding in 1982. That's the one, the big storm that I'm going to tell you about in another video. It had a huge impact on me personally, but people were buried and died and are still entombed under the mud. Anyway, it says 35 years later, the same charities that formed then are now being impacted by this new horrific and deadly storm. In that one previously misnamed the Love Creek storm, it sent a flash flood down the San Lorenzo River. That's the main river in the Santa Cruz Mountains. And this time it destroyed about $5,000 worth of food at the food bank. But that's nothing compared to what it did in 1982, when it destroyed dozens of homes, including several that were buried under half of a mountain. Anyway, I was living in Boulder Creek back then, and we had a mudslide. I'm going to tell you this story in a different video. Scotts Valley students win a chance to record in traveling Lennon bus. Would that be like John Lennon? The high school music group are going to go to a national something or other. The National Association of Music Merchants. Okay, you're going to be bored by this, so I'm going to pass. Oh, look. Clarence the stray cat. We had a cat that looked a little bit like that because she was black, but she was more husky than this one. This one's pretty skinny. It says here, the animal shelter will run a promotion for a pet to get adopted, and it says, Clarence came to us as a stray. When he was found, he had a kitty cold, but he is now on the mend. This cross-eyed boy is extremely people-oriented. Why did they put this in? It says, unfortunately, this big boy tested positive for feline immunodeficiency virus, which is not transmittable to people or dogs. He may have a full and healthy life ahead, but he may not. Clarence should be an indoor cat only due to his FIV positive status. That means he could get immune deficiency diseases and die quickly, or he can live a long life if he's not exposed to other cats. It seems like a strange one to put up for adoption, but hopefully someone will give him a nice home. Alright, so let's see what they're saying about, you know what? My mouth is a little bit dry. I gotta take a sip of water. Like I told you, this isn't really Dasani because I refill the bottles now because our water here is so good. So I'll buy a case of this and just refill the bottles over and over after rinsing them out, of course. What? Did you think I just put more water in and still had cooties in there? No way. Uh-uh. I'm a germaphobe, you know. But not as much of a germaphobe as some people. Still, you would think I'm a little anal about it if you were around me. See, here's more. You know what else I need? I think I need a little gum. Don't you? Remember Scorpio and YT, you know, Joanne, sent me in that package I showed you before some strawberry apple Mentos gum. And if I have a piece of this, then I won't get dry mouth while I'm talking to you, especially if I sip water. So let's open this up. I like the colors, but then I like the colors of everything. So other than that horrible, icky color on the T-Mobile commercials, that color makes me want to vomit. Okay? Other than that color, I like pretty much everything. All right. So, very strawberry, with just a hint of green apple. Actually, the green apple gets a little bit stronger as you chew. So it starts off really strong strawberry and then becomes more apple. Do you remember in the movie Willy Wonka where that girl steals the that gob thing, that oh no, it's gum that is a whole meal. I think her name is Violet. And she's not supposed to have it. And she eats it anyway. And she goes, you know, oh, it's turkey and dressing, and then it's this and it's that. And at the end it's like, blueberry pie. And then she swells up into a giant blueberry, bigger and bigger, with a little tiny head poking out the top. It was a very funny scene. And Gene Wilder has to have her sent away to be squeezed so she doesn't pop. I hate it when that happens. Okay, so, see, these are the routes I was telling you about. Highway 17 goes from Santa Cruz, which is the beautiful town by the coast, up through the mountains, over the mountains, to the Silicon Valley, which is over here. A great place for technical companies, but not a very good place to live because it costs, about $3 million to live in a doghouse there, since there's so many high-paid jobs. People rent rooms out, like one bedroom with no bath and no kitchen privileges for, $1,400 a month, If you want to rent a house, you're talking $5,000 or $6,000 a month, all right? I'm not exaggerating. Okay, so it says Bay Area. Bay Area. And that big X that you see is that alternate route I told you, I showed you. It looked like an atomic bomb hit and blew the mountain away. So the road just stops. Like in that Twilight Zone episode. No, wait. It was an Outer Limits episode. If you're old enough to know what that is, where aliens come and they take an entire town off the earth, and it's in some other place now. And if they drive to the edge of town, it just falls off into nowhere. Only their town exists and nothing else. Anyway, I used to watch those. They were black and white when I was a kid, and some of them were quite frightening, much more so than the Twilight Zones of the time, and more sci-fi generally. Twilight Zone was more of a philosophical, they had a point to each story, a moral point in the story. But there was some great TZs. There is marathons every year around New Year's. They'll run all the episodes, and I usually find at least one that I never saw before, and then watch some of my other favorites, like Mr. Bemis, the guy who wanted to read, and nobody would ever let him read. He had a nagging wife and a terrible boss and stuff. He's down in the bank vault hiding to read his book when the atomic bomb hits, and everyone's blown away but him. So he comes out of his bank vault and finds a wasteland, and he's all upset because he's all alone, and he's thinking, maybe I better commit suicide, I'm so lonely. And then he finds a gun, and he's going to put it to it, and then he stumbles onto the city library, and his eyes light up, right? Wow, I can read for the rest of my life, he's thinking. And he stacks up big piles of books for January and for February and for March, right? He has it all planned out. And I could relate because I was a ferocious reader when I was young. And people were always trying to bother me and stop me from my reading, And anyway, just as he's getting ready to settle in and spend the rest of his life reading, he leans over and his thick Coke bottle glasses fall off and break on the concrete steps. And now he can't see a damn thing, right? That's the end of the... And the poor guy's going, it's not fair. It's not fair. Do you ever feel like life is not fair? I would be lying if I say that I don't ever feel that way. But whoever promised us that life would be fair anyway? If life was fair, that would have to mean that everyone's life was exactly identical, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that be about the most boring thing you could ever imagine? Everything exactly equal. So actually, fairness would be hell on earth when you think about it. It'd be like living, Groundhog Day. The same thing over and over. Anyway, what else we got here? Highway 17 Express. That's the commute bus. See? Now it takes 3 hours, and some of the routes are completely canceled. That's not much of a speedy commute, is it? I was supposed to be showing you stories in here, and instead I'm just rambling off the top of my head, but look here. Highway 17 mudslides and delays. There's the big slide that came down on the highway, which reminds me of past wet years where we had similar things happen, and it took me hours to get to work. Felton Grove flooded. That's an area by the San Lorenzo River where I used to fish for steelhead. Look, in the 1870s, SLV and Santa Cruz had baseball teams. I'll bet you never knew that. I never knew it until now. So you see, we each can learn something that we didn't know before. And afterwards we can say to ourselves, I don't really care if I learned that or not. And that's all right. Classified ads. In the old days, there was no internet. There was no Craigslist. There was no eBay. What you had to do if you wanted to buy or sell something was run a classified ad in the newspaper. It was a huge hassle. You had to write the ad copy, send it to the paper, they would edit it, they would do everything incorrect and change it so that it no longer resembled what you wrote, and it had the wrong price and the wrong description. Then they would charge you $30 or $40 to sell your $10 item. So you see, there's a big advantage to the internet. But somebody still runs a few classified ads. Let's see what they have here. Sawmills from only $4,300. You think I'm making this up, don't you? Make and save money with your own sawmill. Cut lumber to any dimension, in stock and ready to ship. You can have your own sawmill for just $4,000. Here, I think you're making it up, so I'm going to show you. Miscellaneous. There it is, right there. See? What else? Real estate loans. Legal services. How about this? Piano and flute lessons. Seems like an odd combination, doesn't it? Help wanted. Truck drivers. You know, I've always kind of envied the guys who get in those trucks and then drive on Highway 80 from San Francisco all the way to the East Coast, and they get to see the entire country along the way. But in order to make good money, they tend to overdo it. They'll drive, 18 hours a day and then get exhausted and get in a wreck, or use methamphetamines to stay awake, which is going to kill them at a young age. That's why when you see them, they're always all leathery looking and have bad teeth, because that's how they have to survive. It's not very good. Okay, look. Autos wanted. Donate your car. Cable TV. There's nothing interesting here. So, let's put this aside. And, this shows you that in 1 year, one short year, we went from California burning up and in drought to California in good shape. The only reason why it finally healed itself from the terrible years and years of drought is because I moved up here to Oregon, okay? So it's just my bad luck. All right. Anyway, I was going to read you the crime report, but I'm going to save that for another video because we're already 30 minutes long, and this is as long as I can talk. waste this time of night. And so, I think that's about all I'm going to do for today. Winter offers a time to prune your dormant plants. Okay, I'm all for that. I don't know what kind of flowers these are, but I've always kind of liked them. They're these big purple things. I call them puffballs. That way I don't have to remember the name. Purple puffballs, okay? So next time you see these, you now know the appropriate Latin term, purple puffball. Let's see what it says. Does it say what they are? Oh, they're hydrangeas. I should be able to remember that. It's not that tough. Hydro for water and angia, whatever that means. I thought it was the name of a girl like Angie, Angia. But I don't know what it means, so. How about that old Rolling Stones tune, Angie? It's always been a little depressing to me because I don't get Mick Jagger. On one hand he says, I still love you. On the other hand he says, get lost. So he's going back and forth. It doesn't make, it's a little bit fatalistic or something. It's like, well, we love each other, so our relationship is terrible. So we care about each other, we have great history, so let's not be together anymore. I still love you, Angie. See you later, I don't want to be with you. It doesn't make sense to me, but then not every song makes sense, and it has sort of a sad melody to it too, don't you think? But then the Stones did that quite a bit, like Ruby Tuesday. Don't you think that's a really sad sounding song? Goodbye, Ruby Tuesday. Who could hang a name on you? When you do something or other with every new day, still I'm gonna miss you. When you change, is that what it is? Somebody will tell me. You guys are always correcting me, and I like that, because my memory's not so good. So you come on and you tell me all the things I can't figure out, like I was trying to remember what that goat-sucking monster was in Mexico or Latin America, and you all came on and said, oh, that's a chupacabra. See, even ghosts even remind me what that is. When you change with every new day, still I'm gonna miss you. All right, everybody, take care. Don't ASMR and drive. Okay, bye-bye.